Today we're going to learn about colonization beginnings, the beginnings of European colonization. We have three objectives. Number one, explain why Europeans sailed west and discovered the New World. Number two, describe the limitations of the Treaty of Tordesillas. And number three, explain how mercantilism works. So remember the Crusades. The Crusades spurred a desire for Eastern trade goods. So Europeans during the Crusades, they went to Jerusalem, they went to the Holy Land, and they experienced all of the trade goods coming from China across the Silk Road for the first time. Things like paper, gunpowder, tea, and they wanted all of these things. They wanted lots and lots and lots of it. They also brought back advanced ship technologies, which combined with European tech enabled sea travel. The problem is that the Ottoman Empire had recently taken over this region, the Middle East, and they had blocked the Silk Road from European access. So Europeans were having to spend lots and lots and lots and lots of money in order to get access to Chinese trade goods coming off the Silk Road. So hopefully you remember the Vikings. The Vikings were actually the first Europeans who discovered the New World. This was Leif Erikson at approximately 1000 CE or AD, about 500 years before Columbus. Now, Columbus was inspired by the stories of Leif Erikson, and he thought they were true. He thought that the Vikings, Leif Erikson, had actually discovered a new world and not had just been to Iceland like most of his contemporaries believed. So in an effort to skip the Silk Road, this is important, in an effort to skip the Silk Road, Columbus decides to sail west. That way he can get around the Ottomans and go directly to China himself, get all of the Asian trade goods, and make a fortune. So at the behest of the Spanish, Columbus does sail west, and he, quote-unquote, discovers the New World, not Asia, in 1492. He lands in the modern Dominican Republic. Now, Columbus did not realize he was in the New World. He thought he was in Asia. He thought he was in India, which is why he called Native Americans Indians. Now, Columbus and his Spanish troops summarily captured, enslaved, and killed natives as he encountered them. Very, very ugly business. Almost all of the natives that were living in the Dominican Republic at that time were killed by diseases or enslaved. On his second, third, and fourth voyages, he commanded an army and set up Spanish colonies. And hopefully you remember what a colony is from Unit 2. Bartolomé Diaz, very similar to Columbus, except he sailed for Portugal. Bartolomé Diaz also wanted to get Asian trade goods, but he was working for the Portuguese. He had a different plan. He didn't think sailing west made any sense. Instead, he wanted to sail south. He wanted to go all the way around Africa and make it to Asia that way. Nobody had ever done that before. The waters at the very southern tip of Africa are very, very dangerous, and nobody had the ship technology or the navigation technology to be making through those waters, except for the Portuguese under Bartolomé Diaz. 1488, he successfully rounds the Cape of Good Hope, so he makes it around the southern tip of Africa and makes it to Asia. The Portuguese, along with Bartolomé Diaz, shortly begin building colonies in Eastern Africa and Asia soon after. Which takes us back to the Catholic Church. Spain and Portugal are the two big nations, the two big powers that are discovering new lands and setting up colonies for the first time. Spain and Portugal are also good Catholic countries, unlike the rest of Europe, which are slowly going Protestant one by one by one by one. And it's looking like Portugal and Spain, who are also neighbors, if you know your geography, are going to end up having to go to war over some of these colonies. So they go to their buddy, the Pope. This is Alexander VI, Pope Alexander VI. Pope Alexander VI was Spanish. He was actually from Aragon, near Barcelona. So they go to Alexander VI and say, Pope, we need you to solve this problem for us. Prevent us from going to war. And he signs the Treaty of Tordesillas. The Treaty of Tordesillas promises almost all of the New World to Spain. So according to the Pope, Spain gets the New World, except for Brazil, which Brazil goes to Portugal. All of Asia goes to Portugal. That is the plan that Alexander VI comes up with. The weakness of the Treaty of Tordesillas and why ultimately it is a failure is because it does not prevent war in Europe over colonies. It only prevents war in Europe between Portugal and Spain in regards to colonies. All those countries who aren't Catholic anymore don't care about it because they don't believe in the Pope. Both countries promised the Pope that they will convert natives to Christianity, and this did happen, but this was a secondary or even a third priority after enslaving and things like that. So here is a map of the New World and the very early colonies. You can see the green here. This is Brazil. This was taken by Portugal as promised in the Treaty of Tordesillas. And then all of this yellow is Spanish. We do see North America happened. It worked a little bit different in North America than in South America. We can see the British here. We can see the French here. French have a huge section. And we can see the Caribbean is totally dominated by the Spanish. This is going to last for a little while. And then war will, of course, break out. So the big question is, why would people want to engage? Why would people want to build colonies? Why would people want to engage in colonialism? And ultimately, it comes down to mercantilism. Mercantilism is an economic theory about how you as a country can get really, really, really rich. So let me walk you through this. Let's say you're the king of England. That's the mother country. And as the king, you want to get rich. How do you get rich? You get rich off of taxes. But in order to have a tax, you have to have someone buy and sell something. Every time you buy something, you pay a tax on it. Every time you sell something, somebody pays a tax on it because they're buying it. So in order for people to pay taxes, they have to be buying and selling things. So you're England, you've got, machines, you're making clothing, you're making guns, you're making alcohol, you're making furniture, you're making boats, you're making all kinds of things. But you need somewhere to sell it. So the first reason why you set up as a colony is so that you have another country you can sell to. So this says manufactured goods. England is going to be really good at making manufactured goods like machines, and they're going to sell those to the colony. And because they're smart, they're going to say, hey, colony, let's say North Carolina, because North Carolina was an English colony. Hey, colony, you can only buy from us, which means England can set any price they want for anything because North Carolina can only buy from England. In exchange, the colony, North Carolina, is going to sell raw materials very cheaply back to England. How does that work? Well, North Carolina is going to sell the wood and the tar and the glue to make the furniture that England is going to then sell back to North Carolina. And that is mercantilism. The key ingredient in mercantilism is cheap labor. And make sure you understand that that is slavery. That is code for slavery. African slaves are going to be the one who are producing the raw materials, whether that's wood, whether that's sugarcane, whether that's tobacco, whatever it is. So the mother country, England, makes furniture that they sell to North Carolina. North Carolina buys the furniture and then sells cheap wood grown and cut by African slaves back to England, and then they use that wood to make more furniture, and it goes in a circle. Mercantilism in practice looks like this. It's called triangular trade. So Europe creates manufactured goods, gun, clothes, iron, beer, all kinds of luxuries. They take them to Africa. They sell them to Africa in exchange for slaves. They then take their ships. They load them up with slaves as well as this stuff they have left. They take them to the New World. They sell them in the New World. In exchange, they get all the raw materials, lumber, fur, tobacco, indigo, rice, silk, sugar, molasses, wood, whale oil, so on and so forth. They take the raw materials back to Europe. Europe produces manufactured goods, and it goes in a triangle. That is triangular trade. It is mercantilism in practice. And that is the video for today.